Now, I don't know about you, but I know Steve and I are both sick and tired of people saying, "Oh, you're voting for Jill Stein. That's white privilege. Oh, you're so selfish. You're so self-centered. Why don't you grow up? Why don't you bite the bullet?" Right?
They tell us that, yeah.
Yeah. And it's considered this white privilege lily. Oh, you don't have any problems in your life.
White heterosexual male
Right.
privilege.
That's right. Straight white male privilege.
Yeah.
Right. Well, guess what? There's a website called 34 Justice, and they say that privilege, many Jill Stein voters have it, and many Hillary Clinton voters do too. So they did it. This is by Ben Spielberg, which is Stephen's cousin. And so I've got some quotes from this article. This is pretty interesting stuff. What you're always told is like, from these other kind of articles you see, why this black Bernie Sanders delegate says he doesn't have the luxury of going Bernie or bust, right? That's the kind of articles that left organizations, lefty news organizations have been writing, and that means they're not really left anymore, that they're in bed with power, and that they're embracing corporatism. That's what that says to me. And it's happened. It's not just Fox. It's almost every left-wing online news. It's weird to see it happen. And that's why we're doing the show, because that's even happening to the left. The left is getting corrupt. So here's what this article says. They say the status quo is serving many people poorly, proclaiming that because the alternative is worse, everyone must vote for Clinton, a politician who has championed policies that have actively harmed millions of people, both here and around the world, is at its very best patronizing to those who are currently suffering. It's a promise of crumbs instead of a meal, with the admonition that starving people better be thankful for crumbs, as the other candidate might even take those away. This rationale plays on the fears of disadvantaged people and those who care about them in order to perpetuate current power dynamics. Its use is in many ways an expression of the very privilege it critiques. I'm going to read this again because this is really important. This rationale plays on the fears of disadvantaged people and those who care about them in order to perpetuate the current power dynamics. Its use is in many ways an expression of the very privilege it critiques.
I want to expound on that a bit more. So it was a Democratic president who got rid of Glass-Steagall.
Yes, it takes a Democrat.
It was a Democratic president who ushered in an era of mass incarceration and private prisons. It was a Democratic president.
Wow, this is amazing. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a Democratic president who wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare.
That was Barack Obama.
That's right. It's a Democratic president that, if it's Hillary Clinton, that's going to usher in this new era of where Democrats will embrace the rationale behind Citizens United.
Yes.
Okay. It is a Democratic president who has escalated drone strikes. It's a Democratic president who's embracing fracking and mass surveillance.
The surveillance state, yeah. Democratic president.
So
the foreign policy right now is a continuation of Bush's policy.
Right.
We left Iraq on Bush's timetable, and guess what? We're back in. Yeah. And we ramped up the war in Afghanistan, and we bombed 8 different Muslim countries since 9/11. And Barack, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm not very persuaded by the argument, oh my God, but Trump. Or, oh my God, but the Republicans.
Right.
Oh my God, the Supreme Court. Okay, I'm not persuaded by any of these arguments because, we have to fight. It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican. Progressives have to fight because we're the only ones who are fighting for the average American, for the ordinary American. And it is racist to stand, during a speech, point to the one black guy in your audience and say, "That's my African American." Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's racist. It's also racist to call a group of people super predators.
Yes, kids.
Yeah, it's also racist to embrace a policy that throws 2.2 million people in prison, most of them for nonviolent crimes, and to decimate an entire generation of the black community where fathers are basically
removed from the community.
Yeah,
And then
So-
when they're let back out, now they have a felony conviction, so they can't get jobs, and also they can't vote.
Yeah. So what happened under a Democratic president regime, I call it a regime, is that it ushered in the mass incarceration, and it allowed for the decimation of a community, and it allowed for the police brutality to continue or perhaps even grow.
I'm going to show you the breakdown of the demographics for Jill Stein. So if you can see, it says, here's the estimated voter. It's tough to get information on Jill Stein voters, right? But here's the best we can get. So if you see in the blue, that's Hillary Clinton supporters. The green are Jill Stein supporters, and the gray is all registered voters. So women, Hillary is edging out Jill by 2 percentage points, right? So 56% of her supporters are women, whereas 55% of Jill's supporters are women.
Just real quick, that's a difference of 1, not 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1%. Yeah, that's.
I'm a math genius.
I'm not good. I'm not a math surgeon. I got through college without taking a math class. I actually got my degree. I did it. And so let's go back to this. Now, if you look for middle-aged or younger, Jill's killing it with the middle-aged or young. So Hillary's got mostly older voters, whereas Jill's got the younger or middle-aged people, 70%, right, to Hillary's 42%. Now, people of color. Now, sure, yes, Hillary has more people of color, but Jill Stein has more than the representation in the country. She has 32% people of color. That's pretty good.
Right.
Now, income under $50,000, Jill Stein does much better. So they're not privileged. Actually, 58% of the people supporting her make less than $50,000, whereas only 52% of the people supporting Hillary make less than $50,000. So Jill has a higher representation of people under $50,000. So that's not privilege. And then no college degree. Way more people with no college degree are supporting Jill Stein.
They would argue that that's because they're low information voters.
Yes.
Too stupid, and therefore they vote for Jill Stein.
So there you go. So all that stuff about you're white, you're privileged, it just goes to show you non-college aged people, non-college educated people, women, and people of color, 30-some% for Jill Stein. So that idea
and
that it's all white privileged guy, it's all bullshit. So here, let's go to this. So this is when we in the Green Party, here's the national co-chair, when we in the Green Party hear about spoiler candidates, it usually comes from people who believe that the Democratic Party is entitled to votes without actually doing the work of the people, especially people of color like me, the LGBTQ, well, that's a lot of letters.
That's a lot of letters.
Community, and students and others. We are expected to faithfully fall in line without any perceivable return on investment. Those of us who live outside of privileged circles know that voting for either lobe of the corporate party brings us more of the same. Massive student debt, low-paying jobs, more deportations, more wars for oil, more destruction of the environment, more police militarization, and even more waffling over the safety and security of the LGBTQ community on the job or at home, or most notably, the safety of transgendered youth or of color anywhere.
She nailed it. That's exactly right.
She nailed it. So she's saying that, oh, you think that we owe you your vote? We don't, this is what I've been saying. We don't owe our vote to Hillary Clinton because of Trump or anything else. You want our vote? You have to come get our vote. And how do you come get our vote? With policies that help these people, with policies that promise no more wars for oil, that help student debt, that help get better paying jobs, that stop the mass deportations, that stop the militarization of the police departments, that stops the destruction of our environment. Hillary will not commit to stop destroying our environment. She's destroying it. She's fracking 100% for it. So that's why you don't owe your vote to them. You can't do that. People know that it's more of the same. And the people who can't afford more of the same, guess who they are? They're the people who aren't privileged.